Character development is one of the most fun parts of the process of writing a script. Today I've decided to create a Pinterest board on one of the archetypes that I think is relevant to a character in this new upcoming project. So let's dive into that and get going.
FateLink is making a living case study out of building an independent feature film. Day by day, see the hopes, dreams, fears, and step-by-step process it takes to make a movie.
Hi everybody, so I'm still in the character development process with this new script, and today I'm going to take you with me as I experiment with some brainstorming around an archetype. I want to create a Pinterest board about this archetype, so let's dive into that. As you can see, this is my Pinterest account, FateLink. If you're on Pinterest and you want to follow me there, I'll follow you back. These are the boards I have so far. I have the Making a Movie Step-by-Step board, and then I have a Creative Insights board, and I have a Diving into Characters board. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to this Boards tab, and we're going to create a new board. Now, the name of the board is going to be Archetypes, the Dandy, because the Dandy is the archetype that we're going to follow. So for now I'm going to keep the board secret until we have some stuff on the board, and I am going to create that. Okay, I'm going to search for some stuff to put on the board in a minute, but first I want to talk to you about this archetype of the dandy and what does it mean and why am I choosing to focus on this archetype. Well, one of the characters in my script is what I would consider to be a dandy. I think that's kind of an archetypal quality that he has. I'm creating this board to understand the archetype a little bit better myself, and also creating Pinterest boards as a way to communicate non-verbally about the characters. So maybe it's going to help my production designer, maybe it's going to help my cinematographer, or it's going to help the costume designer, or it's going to help the actor to start to understand at different levels what this character is all about. So I've pulled up some things that I think are relevant. So first of all, I want to go to a definition of the dandy, and here we have it. A man unduly devoted to style, neatness, and fashion in dress and appearance. An excellent thing of its kind. So I'm going to screenshot that. So now I'm going to create a pin, and I'm actually going to pin that definition. Let's see how that looks on the board. Okay, so I've thought a little bit about the dandy character, and there are a few other definitions that feel relevant to me. One of those words is precision, and this is because, a dandy dresses with precision. There's very much a precision to the way that they speak and present themselves, and I think this is a word that's applicable to this type of character, so I'm going to screenshot that as well. Another word that I think is relevant in terms of the dandy is the word self-control, because a dandy's style is very much under their control. You can't imagine someone who has this very sophisticated dandy style just breaking out into a fight or doing something completely impulsive. The fact that they're so disciplined about the way that they dress, the way that they present themselves, for me, it makes them feel like there's an element of self-control in who they are. So I'm going to screenshot this as well. Another word is the word sophisticated. Let's see what sophisticated means. Having, revealing, or proceeding from a great deal of worldly experience and knowledge of fashion and culture. Developed to a high degree of complexity. Okay, so this is yet another word that I feel applies to the dandy because they do have a lot of knowledge of culture and fashion, and that's how they've been able to elevate their look and the way that they move about the world. So Sophisticated is another word that I feel is in the neighborhood of the dandy and relevant for our Pinterest board. Okay, now I'm going to go to some of the darker qualities of the dandy because, I don't believe that life is a Pollyanna experience. There's good and bad, all kinds of shades of gray in every different kind of person. So I think one of the darker sides of the dandy is that they do have a judgmental side to themselves. They not only hold themselves to high standards, but other people as well. So that's something that I want to keep track of for our dandy character. And there's something restrictive about the dandy, and that's interesting to me because on the one hand, they kind of flout society's expectations with the way that they look and act, but on another side, they really, the sophistication and the way that they dress, the way that they present themselves, they create a lot of rules for themselves. They create a kind of self-imposed pathway, and they don't diverge from that. So I think there's something restrictive about the dandy, and maybe that's because underneath they have a lot of emotions and a huge sexuality, and this is a way to control it or express it. But I think there's this interesting restriction to the dandy, even though he's a very expressive fellow. So that's just my take on it. If this were your Pinterest board, if this was your archetype that you're developing, you can choose whatever words you want. Okay, so I'm going to quickly go to Pinterest now and add some of these screenshots of these definitions. Okay, so I've added those definitions. Once we have a lot more imagery to go on this board, I will integrate these pins in a different way. But I think it's helpful to have some words along with the pictures that we're going to add to get people thinking on the cast and crew about this archetype and what it might mean. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and go to a Pinterest search on the dandy, and I'm going to pin the imagery that I really like. And I cheated a little bit and I looked at this already, so I have a sense of which pins I like. So I'm going to go through this rather quickly because I don't want to waste your time. I love this particular imagery because we see his environment there. Oscar Wilde, of course, is kind of the prototypical dandy. That's a beautiful quote. Being dull is the enemy of the dandy. I think that's very true. Okay. So now I'm going to move on to a different search for the dandy that I did. I like this fellow quite a bit. This guy definitely looks like he's not having it. I love it. I love this idea of there's a lot of times these dandies have canes. This guy has an umbrella instead. But I like this fellow a lot. I love that phone booth in the background too. Kind of makes it all work. Oh look, steampunk dandy. That's adorable. Okay, so let's check on how our board is growing. Let's see how we're doing. So let's see how our board is growing. Archetypes, the dandy. Great. So I'm just going to rearrange some things now. I'm going to bring Oscar Wilde up. Boy, it's not cooperating with me today like I want it to. It's like it's running slow or something. So it's, for some reason, I don't know if my internet's slow in the heat or what's going on, but I want to move some of these definitions and quotes and intersperse them with these amazing dandy guys. But it's just not cooperating with me right now. And it's not behaving the way I want it to behave. So rather than fighting that, I don't know why it's running so slow, Instead, I'm just going to pick some more imagery. Okay, so I'm going to save this image. Oh, I like this guy a lot. It's excellent. I like this fellow too. I like his bow tie. This fellow looks great too. So these are just different Google tabs with slightly different search terms to see what comes up. So I'm just going through and saving a bunch of these. That one I've already got. Okay, so that was the dandy archetype search. So I did a search, I believe, just on the word dandy. Then I did a Google search on the word dandy archetype. And now I've done a search on the name Beau Brummel. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he was known as the very first dandy. So, a little nod to history. We'll get him in there. Girl, this guy was really working it. Oh, I love this. They're breaking down what he did. So for all you aspiring dandies, there was just a little chart that should be helpful to you. Okay, we got one more picture of Beau, and then people are going to get sick of seeing him, so let's just do one more. Okay, then this particular guy is Truman Capote, and he was one of my inspirations for this character that I'm writing. Now, what's interesting to me is that when I looked him up, his look in youth, if you look at it, was very jeans and a t-shirt kind of kid. Good-looking young man there, and his style got more sophisticated, and it's like he moved. So this looks almost like a completely different person than this guy in terms of the style. It's interesting to think about what happened in Truman Capote's life that he decided to make this change in his style from a very kind of James Dean jeans and a t-shirt look to this more dandy look. See, here again, he's young and he's just wearing a t-shirt. And then these are some great dandy quotes. I like this one. Socrates, be as you wish to seem. That really does seem to speak to the dandy approach. So I'm going to save some of these quotes too. This is a great quote. Clothes form the intellect of the dandy. Being a dandy is a condition rather than a profession. It is a defense against suffering and a celebration of life. I like that quote even more. So today is about brainstorming. It's not about overthinking it in terms of which of these quotes is really true about the dandy archetype and which isn't. Today is just about brainstorming, bringing a bunch of things that I'm drawn to together in one place so that we can do all that thinking and processing later. So that's a key difference between, being in the brainstorming phase versus being on this stage where you're crystallizing your knowledge of something and channeling it into the character in a very specific way. What a beautiful quote by this person. Now, this quote by Oscar Wilde is the most interesting dandy quote of them all. And of course, it's more interesting because we know that Oscar Wilde, was accused of homosexuality and ended up dying at a very young age because of the oppressive society in which he lived. So he says, a man who can dominate a London dinner table can dominate the world. The future belongs to the dandy. It is the exquisites who are going to rule. There's a lot of pathos in this quote for me because, of course, Oscar Wilde didn't end up ruling. He ended up going to prison and dying shortly thereafter from that brutal experience. So that is a very fascinating quote and something really worth including on our board. So let's go back to our board now and see how it's shaping up. What we've got to do is we've got to clean up this board because it's kind of all over the place now between the definitions and the quotes and the pictures. So it's going to, and right now Pinterest is just going crazy. Look at this spinning wheel I'm getting because of just how much stuff I've stuffed into this dandy board. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to spend some time organizing it, and then I will get back to you and show you a little bit about how it ended up. It's going to take me some time to finish this, but I do think it's worthwhile to, if one of your characters really embodies one of these archetypes, to start getting some visuals and ideas going on what that archetype is, so that you can communicate better with your team and the actors and the production, so that you can really create an unforgettable character. And I'm hoping that this is one step in the process of doing that for the character that I love very much in my script. So thank you for watching today, and I'll see you next time.